Good day, everyone. Welcome to our class. Work hard, dream big, never give up. So, I have a question that goes like this. How does it feel to have someone in the family who needs special care and attention? How did you deal with it? So, if I am going to answer this, it is very challenging because it is truly hard to deal with a person who needs special care and attention. So you need to be patient. You need to be understanding. But the best part about this is that you will be able to establish love, respect, and care for your family. So napakita nimo how you love towards them, how you care towards them. So that's the very important thing, especially in dealing with this kind of individuals. So, we will talk about inclusive education in other countries. It has a subtopics which are number one is the idea or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act in United States, and number two is other countries supporting special and inclusive education. So when we talk about inclusive education, it ensures that all students have an opportunity to learn and grow in a safe and supportive environment. And also, it prepares students for the real world by teaching them how to work with people in all abilities. And it also breaks down with or without disabilities and promotes understanding and acceptance. So that is what inclusive education means. I will give to you our objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to, for the knowledge, state facts and supporting ideas about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA. For the skills, perform the different categories covered by IDEA in a creative way. It can be acting, poetry, poster making, slogan, or song composition. And for the effective, propose an advocacy campaign supporting children with disabilities. Before, United States did not really address inclusive education. They do not even acknowledge it. But in 1995, the National Center for Educational Restructuring and Inclusion developed a definition of inclusion in education, which is to provide equitable educational services to all students, including those with disabilities, to prepare them for productive lives. And also, the No Child Left Behind Act also mandates or also give authority for the accountability to students with disabilities. So that's why they came up with the inclusive education. According to the U.S. Department of Education, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or what we call the IDEA, is a law that makes available a free appropriate public education to eligible children with disabilities. So when we say eligible, they are those qualified disabled individuals. So with the passage of the IDEA, children with disabilities were entitled to special education. So when we say special education, these individuals or these children needs more attention, more care, more support, just because as they are qualified as kaning mga persons with disabilities or qualified individuals with disabilities. So, there are 13 categories covered by the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, and it includes autism, deaf blindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, specific learning disability, speech or language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and visual impairment. So, what is autism, or what do you mean by autism? So when we say autism, it is the repetitive action or the stereotype movements and maybe an unusual responses to sensory experiences. And deafness, so when we say deafness, it means a hearing impairment so severe that a child is impaired in processing linguistic information through hearing. So vernacularly speaking, bungol or something ingon ana. Deaf blindness, so it means simultaneous hearing and visual impairment. So deaf tapos blind, so bungol nga buta or something ingon ana. The combination of which causes such severe communication and other developmental and education needs that they cannot be accommodated in special education programs solely for children with deafness or children with blindness. So deaf blindness, bungol nga buta, something ingon ana. Emotional disturbance, it means a condition exhibiting one or more following characteristics. So one of these is that a general pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression. So when you, like for example, pervasive or most occurrence or mostly to occur na mood niya of unhappiness. So that's one of the characteristics of kaning emotional disturbance or katong dali ma-depress, something yun ana. So that that is the emotional disturbance. For the hearing impairment, so hearing impairment is another term for is a different term for deafness, because deafness is a form of hearing impairment. The term hearing impairment covers a spectrum from mild to profound. So deafness, since deafness is a form of hearing impairment, ang deafness, this is a profound hearing loss, which indicates a complete loss of hearing ability in one or both ears. So pwede usa ka dalungan ang bungol or pwede duha. So that's the difference between deafness and hearing impairment. So intellectual disability, so from the word intellectual, so it focuses on our minds or our brain. So intellectual disability, it means significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning. So more on sa atuan na siya nga minds, and mostly most of the time it is used when a person this term is usually used when a person has a certain limitations in cognitive functioning and skills, including communication, social and self-care skills. And intellectual disability can happen anytime before a child turns 18 years old or even before birth. So there are kaning some causes ani nga sa intellectual disability, which is pwede anytime before a child turns 18 or even before birth. So next is the multiple disability. So from the word itself, multiple, so more than one, so na siya nga disability. And one of the causes of multiple disabilities are as varied as the diagnostic itself. So the condition may be the result of a traumatic brain injury or a genetic disorder, or it can be a premature birth. Orthopedic impairment, so it means a severe skeletal, muscular, or neuromuscular impairment. So it really focuses sa ato ang mga bones, sa ato ang mga muscles, something ingon ana. So diha, like for example, katong di na makalakaw tungod kay kanang naay diferensya sa bukog, something ingon ana. So that's orthopedic impairment. Dayon, for the other health impairment, so it means having limited strength, vitality, or alertness. So, and including a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that results in limited alertness with respect to the educational environment. For the specific learning disability, it means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological processes. involving language, spoken or written, that may manifest itself in the imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. For the speech or language impairment, so it focuses on the language, the voice that adversely affects no sa child's educational performance. For the traumatic brain injury, so it often occurs something anang naay madisgrasya katong grabe na jud pagka-disgrasya nang makita tas mga drama-drama nga naay matrauma, so something memory loss, something ingon ana, di ba, di na makahinumdum o ingon something memory loss na. And lastly is the visual impairment including blindness. So means an impairment in vision that even with correction, so adversely affects Japon sa child's educational performance. Visual impairment, so sa ato ang panglantaw, something na including blindness. So that's the 13 categories covered by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. However, having one of these disabilities does not automatically qualify a child under IDEA. So, according to the California Education Code of Section 3030, individuals with exceptional needs are those who have been diagnosed with an impairment based on the results of an assessment and therefore require special education in making progress. So, dili pasabot nga naa kay usa ani nga sa mga disabilities, makonsider na rin ka ma-qualify na ka a child under IDEA. So, dili siya ingon ana. Dapat you are being diagnosed with an impairment based on the results of an assessment. So, naadjay ka ng gapamatuod nga dapat para ma-qualify ka sulod ani sa Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So, there are also early identification, screening, and assessment sa IDEA. So, IDEA regulates learners' needs and identification and assessment. So, from birth through age 2 receives early intervention services under IDEA Part C. So, gibahig sila. So, meaning organized. So, children and youth age 3 to 21 receive special education and related services under IDEA Part B. Children are monitored every 3 years through a triennial evaluation. So, they are being evaluated and monitored. Why? Because para mabalaan kung unsay dapat naabay improvements or unsay mga dapat i-maintain sa children or sa students or sa bata, something ingon ana. So, other countries supporting special and inclusive education, we have Austria, Czech Republic, Germany, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Netherlands, international countries sa Middle East, sa Africa, and Asia Pacific region. So, as you can see, diba, or as you observe, there are a lot of countries supporting special and inclusive education. So, as I end this discussion, I would like to leave this short motivational statement to you. So, every child has the right to inclusive quality education, yet tens of millions of children with disabilities are being left behind. That's why we need to work hard to dismantle harmful stereotypes and discrimination towards children with disabilities within communities and education systems. So, walang maiiwan, sama-sama tayong online. So, here are the references which I gathered the information. So, I hope that you learned something from our discussion today, and thank you so much for listening.